Dick, it's great to be here with you and to talk about your passion for conservation. I want to start just by asking you, when you were young, what are the experiences that helped you fall in love with the environment, with the outdoors, with conservation?
My dad gave me a 20 gauge shotgun. At that time, pheasants were a pest, and the farmers were delighted to have you come on out in their land. So we went out, and I was learning to shoot pheasants, and I became absolutely intrigued with it.
Well, let me ask you there, your first success of taking a pheasant and having that bird in your hand. Tell me how that felt and what you went through your mind.
No, it was great. It was like, aha! God, look at this pheasant. It's down on the ground. And picked it up, and it was beautiful. Of course, their colors are beautiful.
And talk about that, how you want to see that translate to young people today, that sense of accomplishment, and helps build your confidence as you're young and as you're growing.
Yeah, I think it's so helpful today for the kids to get away from these cell phones and all these devices and to get out in nature. And when they do it, they find that it's really exciting. A good example in Monroe County in Rochester, there's a thing called Nature's Classroom.
Okay.
And the schools required the kids to come there, which was so helpful. And some of the kids, inner city kids that just had never experienced nature, got there and they were afraid of frogs. They were afraid of anything that was moving outside. They thought it was going to jump and get them. It was just, but literally, when they left, they were just absolutely excited about being outside. Complete transformation.
Wow.
Nature is a vital piece in learning.
I can see how that helped shape how you saw the value of building the Florida Youth Center's conservation network in Florida. I see how your vision was shaped by that. You wanted to see that being offered for kids across Florida. I want to take that for a moment. I recall how you just put your arms around this idea of the kids, and taken from what your experiences growing up in New York and the programs there, and you led the charge. I'll never forget traveling around the state with you and sitting in classrooms with kids and talking about the outdoors and nature and encouraging. And you were like just blended right in with these kids and shared your passion. Talk about that a little bit, about how you like to see that and personally connect with kids on this.
Yeah, I think it's sitting there with kids, looking them right in the eye and say, what makes you excited? And then describe them being outside. Or if they haven't been outside, I would say, let's give this a try and have you get outside. Now, when I was on the commission, I said, let's open these youth centers. Then we moved from Tallahassee to Tenoroc, Lakeland, and then went down south. And anyway, we had a whole series of these, and especially the one that was down the Everglades or below. I think we even called it that Corbett Conservation.
That's right.
Area, and you can just.
That's right. It is the Corbett Youth Center, and you've been very supportive. Every one of those centers, and the cool thing that developed with your leadership too. Talk about this. We realized those centers were great. You needed a destination for kids to go have those outdoor experiences, but also we needed to reach the kids where they are in their communities. And we started developing what we call this network of partnerships. Talk about how you feel like that really it filled all the gaps.
Yeah, I think we have to go right into the spot where, and it's all over the state. We're such a huge state. I mean, Florida is incredible. So we really have to go right to the center, whether it's a county or a city or a village, and then work within that and say, let's get kids outside. And so that's the focal point of the whole thing. How can we get kids, especially away from cell phones, get outside and find out how exciting it is, and then say, that's a monarch butterfly. You know where that came from? Well, it's down there in South America, Bolivia, etc. And they literally, this is what's so incredible about nature. There's a butterfly that goes from one bush all the way down there to the exact same bush up here. How they do it, and ducks do the same thing. Why the duck is flying, and you've got ringnecks or bluebills or canvasbacks, and all these ducks. It's amazing. Nature is magical.
And I love that you, wouldn't it be selfish of all of us to just hold that in and not share and not try to get other people and young people especially to open their eyes and see the magic you describe? That's what I see in you, that you want to be generous and share that experience.
Yes, no, we have to think what's going on, what did go on before. My mentor was my father, and his mentor was his father. So it went, and this now has changed where there are no longer mentors because the parents haven't been outside themselves, and these are the young parents. And so we have to open that up and say, hey, let's try this out. Go on out. Parents, go on out and find out how exciting it is and transfer that to the kids.
That's well said, because we have had generational gaps and
Completely.
Building bridges, like you said, through those gaps to help get the whole family engaged. Mm-hmm. And these youth centers and all the programs and the partnerships are doing that. And I think you know this, but that program has reached tens of thousands of young people in just the last few years that the program has really grown and really gone across the state. And that started with the dream that you put out on the table and got started. It's always tough to just get started and get over the hump. But I want to tell you, you as a commissioner were driving. You showed strong leadership. As a person that values hunting, how that translates into loving the resource, the game, and wanting to protect it and take care of it and manage the land for it. Talk about why you believe that.
No, these are. This is a great question because let's just take deer. There are way too many deer, and is what we needed to do was to open it up and make deer hunting far more accessible. The reason we have to do this is it's a balance. Now, in the beginning of the century, it's like the bison. They went ahead and just took way too many. Now, that's where you need government to regulate and say you can take just so many. And today, we've got, why is hunting good? Because we need to keep these species in balance. That means if there are too many, they will get lean, they will be weak, and you don't want this. You want the game, whatever it is, whether it's animals or birds, to be strong. On the aquatic side for the fish, and saying, what are the seasons? What are the bag limits? And then within the species, making sure that between the male and female, that the appropriate regulations are to take just enough, or to take more. Amen.
And to that point, like you've had experiences where you've harvested like a quail, and you're holding your hand, and you look around at the habitat. Talk about places where you connect the land and the management of the land. That's what we call conservation, the management of the land, taking care of the resource. Talk about what that means to you, looking around and the people you've worked with that know how to manage the land to provide that wildlife opportunity, that diversity, and that quail that you're holding in your hand.
No, very well said. Now, in particular, our family has been blessed having a large place of almost 18,000 acres, and we've had this since my wife's grandfather. It's almost 100 years, and the beauty is having somebody, in this case Stephen DeMott, who understands the habitat. He loves to be outside. He's out there culling the land for, let us say, our dove fields, preparing them, and then preparing the duck ponds, and then looking at and watching the quail. And you have to, quail need two things, and this is true of most animals or birds or species of any kind. They need, one, protection so they don't get killed, and the other is an area to feed. Now, in the case of the quail, we've got a large number, 20 some odd thousand, and the reason we keep this base strong, and we're all wild, is we have feed strips, and then we have open areas. The feed strips, they can come in and hide and also feed, and then they can come in and out, and the hedgerows give you that advantage.
Well, you just gave a lesson in wildlife management 101 that you learn when you go to school about and learn about wildlife. The cool thing a lot of people don't realize is what you do on these lands and your neighbors that manage carefully, thoughtfully, and not inexpensively for quail.
Yes.
But you, when you do that, you provide habitat for all the biodiversity, all the bird species that are migrating through or spending the year here, and all the small, just all the wildlife that depends on this landscape. And you come out here and you see it, you hear all the birds singing. It gives so much back to all wildlife. Talk about how that makes you feel.
Well, this is a great question of being able to prepare the habitat or deal with the habitat. A good example is if the woods are overgrown and tight, and there's a word called basal, and that's where the density of trees, a wide open area is a 1. A 10 is all tight.
Right.
Now, there are too many areas that have 8, 9, and 10. That's way, and that means they don't give a damn. Well, I shouldn't say they don't give a damn. They just let things grow up.
Right, and then the sunlight can't get to the ground, and the habitat that you talked about, food and cover, isn't there. Birds, many bird species, not just quail. Your warblers, your songbirds can't use that habitat. They can't find the food, cover, or place to nest and rear their young.
That's precisely it. They just need the two things we just said. An area where there's food, and then protection, and to breed and have their eggs protected. So all this is a matter of balance. Unfortunately, today, there are not enough people out there who thoroughly understand it, and it's the job of actually FWC to be able to educate. Yes. And then spread that word. That's where government's good.
That's true.
We're spreading the word of how you can go ahead and manage all this. Make it perfect for the warblers. Make it that's all the songbirds, dove, duck, quail, turkey, all of them. Everything.
And you made a good point in that helping people understand that this generation, and go back to the youth and the young people, they have no idea if they grow up in Tampa. How are they going to know this? And part of what this youth conservation legacy that you're leaving brings them to a place, the youth centers and these partners, where they start learning those lessons. It's really cool how you talk about just getting the kids outdoors and helping them understand. That's one important kind of baseline. Mm-hmm. You talked about being blessed to have places, private lands that are well managed, that have a lot of wildlife diversity. That's a way, protecting wildlife, taking care of wildlife is a big contribution to society. But also as a commissioner, mm-hmm. And in your role on the foundation, you have always been a strong advocate for managing our wildlife management areas and providing opportunities for everybody, the public, to go out and hunt and fish and enjoy. You led the charge on a quail initiative on our public lands. A lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, some of these people just have their private places and they don't care. You were passionate about working to provide these opportunities on public lands. Open it all up for everybody.
Open this up for everybody. There are only a few people that have the opportunity to have things that are private, and that might be 5% of the population or less. Open it up for the 95%, and the way to do this is to have government take our wildlife management areas and go in and open these up. Now, part of the difficulty is you've got to get prescribed burning, you've got to be able to prepare it. But the answer is government. This is a great role for government.
But to fill in, you may recall it's been about 20 years ago when you came in on the commission. You had that same view and passion. You said, let's get together with forestry. Adam Putnam was Commissioner of Agriculture.
That's right.
Jim Carls. You pulled together a summit at Tall Timbers and said, let's talk about how we can do more burning and thinning on our management areas, our state forests. And what came of that is it created a cooperative, and other agencies, the state park system got involved. People all came together, state and federal lands. And as a result of that, hundreds of thousands of acres are burned now each year and thinned and managed and are open now for public access and public enjoyment. It has delivered. So your legacy, people that go out today to enjoy on public land, the things that you were fortunate to enjoy, you have given that. You have delivered, and it's happening. And it's something that I want to make sure we talk about and recognize.
Okay, now, we've gone ahead, fortunately, and my wife's deeply involved in this, and that's Tall Timbers. They have taken prescribed burning, which generally government doesn't quite understand the importance of this. Department of Interior, when we had Sonny Perdue as a good example, he understands it completely. And Tall Timbers has taken this thing not only for the state of Florida, but they've gone nationwide, and they've even kept states like California and New York, where they before were afraid of fire. You've got to use fire correctly, and that's I take my hat off to Tall Timbers. Has done a great job of educating the importance of burning off the understory.
So glad you brought that in, and that bringing that, taking care of the habitat, managing it properly, providing that opportunity for that wildlife diversity, and then taking that across a big landscape where people can see it, enjoy it. Because if we lose that, there's no point in educating young people about how great it is to be in the outdoors and that magic you talk about, because the magic would be gone if you don't take care of the habitat.
You're spot on. And the habitat means going out there, and if you've got the basil, where you've got thick cover, no burning. The burning takes all this straw and things that have all built up, and they're big heavy. That's got to, when you burn that off, it's a blessing, because then everything regrows.
Exactly, it's a rebirth, regeneration of nature. When you have a fire, you're right. It's the way the systems were designed here in the Southeast for sure, and across a lot of places. Talk about some of the people in your life that have inspired you, that have stood alongside you, have been your friends, and have been people that helped you think about conservation. Like, I know Jim Fowler was a friend.
Okay,
people like that.
All right, I'm delighted. Jim Fowler, who was Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom, and that whole program, Wild Kingdom, gets people love to watch it. And that's Jim out there. Marlon Perkins would say, there's Jim down there with with the hippopotamuses. And oh my God, Jim, you're going to die. Anyway, Jim was clever. Jim knew how to do this. And I remember having him on the Johnny Carson show, where he brought a harpy eagle and some other things, and Carson loved it. Jim Fowler was a great beacon across the whole country because the national television program, Mutual of Omaha, was terrific.
I watched it every Sunday as a kid, and it's one reason I'm a biologist now. It's one reason I love what I do.
See, this is interesting because Nick, watching this, there's a good example where you learned about this and said, gosh, I'm going to be involved in that. I'm going to do that.
Yes.
And that's what you did, which is a rarity. That's fantastic. Now, another individual who was governor of Georgia, Sonny Perdue,
Yes.
later agricultural secretary for the whole country. Sonny, who I've hunted with, and in fact, he understands the importance of habitat so well.
Yes.
And he can actually dismount a horse and get to and get behind the dogs faster than anybody I know, which is fantastic.
He also understands how agriculture on the landscape is so important, but if you do it right, you can have agriculture and wildlife, and that's something that we see across the country, the blending and alignment of agriculture and wildlife and working lands, ranch lands.
Spot on.
So we talked about Jim Fowler, Sonny Perdue. Who are some other people that our listeners would recognize that you've had the joy of being friends with and hunted with and influenced you in this world?
You know, I would go back to, we have at Pinckney Hill a unique opportunity to invite various people, and I've done this and reached out to get various political people, including governors of the state of Florida. I go back all the way to Bob Graham, and we have a whole string of governors that have all come out here to hunt, and it gives them the experience to understand how important wildlife is, and then it's like nationally looking at, the Department of Interior statewide doing the same thing.
I totally, your ability to help those high-level political leaders see and feel and experience this and fall in love with it when they may not have had that kind of a background. I forget Rick Scott, his security detail did not want him riding a horse. Remember that? And he said, no, I'm going to ride a horse. And he experienced it, and I really believe he saw it, felt it, fell in love with this, and it made a difference in the leadership and decisions. And so you have given back in that way to conservation in such a way that a lot of people won't even realize, by helping influence those leaders and helping them see it and experience it.
Well, I'm blessed to be in a place like we have right here at Pinckney Hill. Been going on, as I said before, for almost a century, and it's leaving this habitat. And Stephen DeMott, who's been managing it, and done such a terrific job. It's reaching out and trying to have others understand how important it is to do this.
Well, talk about Florida. Talk about the state of Florida and where you see we are today with conservation and how we balance business, industry growth, people.
All right,
how are we doing?
I'm delighted to reflect upon the tremendous increase in population. I mean, here's an example. Between Tampa and Orlando, the population has doubled in the last less than last decade. I mean, it's going on right now. So you're really finding our wildlife areas are endangered because you've got urban sprawl where they're taking beautiful land and and covering it with housing and people. Now, protecting against this, you have things such as the wildlife corridor, and you know this well, and I personally donated a significant amount of money to keeping the wildlife corridor going. Nick, you can describe that.
Yes, and your point you're making, and the way to balance and sustain the growth, you've got to have a place for people. Florida's got to open the doors and be welcome for people and industry and growth and business, but you've got to at the same time invest in conservation and lands and wild places and opportunities. And that's what you've helped. You've personally invested through FWC, the foundation, and different groups that want to protect that wildlife corridor we're talking about that provides the linkage of habitat. Because a lot of our species don't just live on an acre here and there. They need land to roam and move and find food and cover. And you have been a big part, a leading voice in working with ranches and agriculture and private forest lands and public lands and linking it all together into this wildlife corridor we talk about. You've been supportive of that from the beginning. And like you said, our state lands, our management areas, our forests, our national wildlife refuges, our national forests, our national park, all those parts and pieces are being stressed, and your efforts have been helpful in kind of creating buffers and protecting and keeping the growing in a smart way, in a way that's sustainable.
There you go. You underline what you just said. Growing it in a smart way that's sustainable, and it's a balance between people and habitat.
You know what I found, and you're a great example of this, the people that appreciate hunting and fishing are the first to contribute their funds to help provide protection, to do land management, land conservation, to help support an acquisition, to have public land, to have an easement or something that protects. The hunters and anglers seem to get it.
Now
and understand the need.
No, you're spot on, Nick.
But I want to ask this: that young Dick Corbett you talked about, you said you'd love it if there was a young Dick Corbett out there who's ready to take the reins and run. What would your advice be to somebody that's coming into this fairly young and enthusiastic and ready to go charge?
Yeah, I think it's to love and transmit your love for the outside to quote others, and that's where we had all of our youth centers. And to get these youth centers all over, to expand the youth centers, to get the outreach and get kids outside. It's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to keep the flame of everything that the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission and Foundation has done. Keep that flame bright.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.